what we're doing here is the general phonetic ear training, which will take care of all the stuff that you heard yesterday in the individual oral, and a bit more besides, because we'll be looking at nonsense dictation, which is something that some of you will have experienced before, but for some of you that will be a new experience. And we will be dealing with your own production skills and with your recognition and labelling skills and so forth on the general phonetic stuff, the IPA chart. Now, what I've done is I've broken the IPA chart down into 4 blocks for this week. And the first block, which we're going to look at today, are sounds that involve the lips. So labials. Now labials, as you can see from this kind of section that I've taken out, and I've amplified the information in the chart as well, because the chart doesn't give you anything any more than you need. The chart capitalizes on the notion of redundancy, okay? But I've amplified the information here. As you can see, under bilabial nasal, if you compare that with your chart, you've only got one symbol on the chart itself. And that's because most nasals in the world are voiced. And the right-hand side of each box, each cell, is occupied by voiced sounds, sounds where the vocal folds are vibrating. But we can take the voice out of a nasal. Anything you can put voice into, you can take it out as well. And we can take the voice out of the nasal, and some languages do. If you were a speaker of Burmese, you would routinely use voiceless nasals. And indeed, you may do it if you had a speech defect of one sort or another. You may do it if you were a small child learning to acquire quite tricky things like sm in smooth or sn in snow, where very often they'll say things like smooth, smoothie, and what they mean is a smoothie. So, you know, there's lots of simplification that goes on in phonological acquisition as well. So what we've got here are 2 types of nasals, one made with both lips, bilabial, and that's probably the easiest, most basic sound that you'll ever learn, our ma. And it is, we can read from this, a voiced bilabial nasal. We've got one with a little 0 diacritic, which means no voicing, take the voicing out, which gives us our ma. So we've got our ma. So ma requires you just to blow air quite strongly through your nose. It often requires you to have a paper tissue handy as well. We don't habitually do that, do we? And then the other one that we've got here is one that you will actually find even in English in things like cornflakes, convenient, comfy, where people don't bother to go cornflakes and change the place, convenient and change the place, and comfy and change. We just say cornflakes, convenient, comfy. So sometimes N's and N's in English even turn into this, which is a voiced labiodental, lip and teeth, nasal. And similarly, we can take out the voice, ma. So I can have ma. See, various people are now trying, which is brilliant. I have no objections at all to people trying things out, because obviously you've got to learn instantly anything that you don't know in order to be ready in 2 weeks' time. So that's the nasal. Now, nasal is a manner of articulation. These are the places of articulation, and as I've said, the right-left distribution within the cell gives you voiced on the right-hand side and voiceless on the left. We always write pairs of sounds with the voiceless one first and the voiced one second. It's just a habit. Let's move on. Plosives I'm sure you've heard of. And our fa, our ba will not present any difficulties. May present a tiny bit of difficulty for an English speaker who is quite like to do our pa, with a lot of coming out afterwards, because we have aspirated plosives in many positions. But you can stop that H, you can suppress that H and just have our pa and our ba. And you can tell that our ba's got voicing all the way through, where our fa hasn't. Our fa, if I pause, you can hear the voicelessness. Hi, good. Well done,
sorry,
Anna.
I'm
faded, and I expect she's just got in the wrong group, but we'll relocate her. Yeah. She was certainly lost earlier because I had to put her to the lecture, so she's probably got lost coming this way. Right, now, plosives that you might not know are these very fancy ones, rather exotic ones at the end, which Nuria found herself confronted with one of these when we were doing the mock oral yesterday. And what we've got here is akwa, and just like it looks, K and P, you're doing K and P at the same time. They're in parallel. It's what's called a double articulation. Double articulation means any two identical gestures being made at the same time. Akwa and akwa. Akwa, akwa. And akwa, it's the sort of sound that people do when they want to imitate chickens, isn't it? But you do find them in many languages, particularly African languages tend to have these sounds. Lingala is one that I know that has these sounds. Igbo has these sounds, and so on. Try it out. Make sure you're feeling a K and a P at the same time. It's even easier than rubbing your tummy and patting your head at the same time, because you like doing two things the same. So you're patting your tummy and patting your head, you see. That's easy, we can all do that. Or rub them both. That's all you're doing. You're doing two things at the same time. Multitasking. You're a lady. Ladies are good at multitasking. Affricates are, as you can see, is a blend of the plosives above and the fricatives below. They've kind of got glued together into single units. They're not happening at the same time. This is the other use of the tie bar. The tie bar either means simultaneous production of two things, or it means a very close-knit sequence. And in Afrikaans, we have a close-knit sequence. Okay. So here we had our pa, our bar. Now, if we just relax the pressure so the air can force an exit, we have our fa, our va, our fa, both lips are fa, our va. And if you go from one to the other without any pause, a fa, a fa, a va, a va, a fa, a va, a fa, a va. Both happening at the same place of articulation. The voicing in each pair agrees, and that's exactly the condition you need for the generation of an affricate. Close-knit, homorganic sequence agreeing in voice of a stop plus a fricative. These will be easier, a fa, a va, because most people's languages have a labiodental fricative. Fewer languages have bilabial fricatives. I mean, that's, you know, just one of the statistics. So a fa, a va, and of course, given that you're all speakers of English, to a greater or lesser extent, we've got S and Bs, so you're used to them. You may have problems because your language does funny things with these sounds. This is always a problem, but because we're doing general phonetics and not a language-specific thing, we have to overcome that. And this one also is a fricative. It may remind you of a W. And that's very good, because again it's labial and velar. There's now friction happening at both places, and it's what you hear when people say which, why, where, when. Okay? So which witch knocked on your door at Halloween? And you can make up lots of phrases where you've got the difference between the wh pronunciation and the w pronunciation, which some accents of English do. Lots of speakers of Scottish English will have that extra sound, and when the word is spelt WH, they'll use a wh. Most of us don't, we just use W everywhere.
If I say I can dinner, am I making that one I can dinner?
No, you're doing it, you're doing it without the in.
Oh, because I need this.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Now we've got things called approximants. Now they're more like vowels. Anybody who doesn't know the term approximant, we've now got a big gap between the articulators. And we've got a labiodental one, which is usually good for a laugh. It's a la, which is the Jonathan Ross sound. Anybody who knows Jonathan Ross, a famous TV presenter, comic, Allah, Allah. Red roses, round the rugged rock the ragged rascal ran. So Allah. And it's very like Dutch W, it's like very little there, for example, Allah. So it shouldn't be too much of a problem.
So you didn't touch the lip with it?
Just very gently, so there's no friction. No friction. And lots of speakers have that anyway. They have this slightly unusual R. You hardly even call it a speech defect. It's deviant, but it's hardly defective.
How do you write it? When you write?
Well, you don't. This is how you write it. This is what symbols are about. Forget about writing and spelling. You are writing, you are spelling phonetically using these. That's what this is in aid of. Yeah. This one, our wa, is very familiar, isn't it? We don't have any problems with W. W is another labial velar sound, but a voiced one where this was voiceless. And there we've got the pair of voiceless and voiced. And the one in the middle is the one that certainly speakers of French usually know. It's aga, so it's like aya, yet, yellow, but with lip rounding. Aga, aga. And you find it in French, juin, juillet, nuit, etc. Aga. So it's a y sound, but with rounded lips. And the y sound is the palatal bit, the rounded lips is the labial bit. So it's another double articulation. Abra is one that we probably won't bother too much about. That's the vibration between the lips, abra, where they trill. Yes, lovely. So Ramunda's got that one sorted, so perhaps we will have to slip it in somewhere. That's very nice. Abra, okay. And then I've also fitted in the more exotic ones, which again you heard yesterday. Sounds like R, which is an ejective plosive, R, and you can do it with a fricative as well, R. So we've got a voiceless bilabial ejective plosive, a voiceless labiodental ejective fricative. And is there no end to this, I hear you say? Implosive, we had one of those yesterday as well. Implosives are voiced, typically, so it's on the right-hand side of the box. And then finally, in terms of sounds that can be made at this place of articulation, we've got the clicks. We've got the basic click symbol here is this circle with the dot, that's the bilabial click. Tying it to a K shows it's voiceless, tying it to a G or to this sound, which is N, velar nasal, you'll know it from your transcriptions. Those both show that it's voiced, this one shows that it's voiced and nasal. So this one is R. It's like hissing with flat lips, R. Aga, it's got voicing in it. Aga, and you can probably hear the G, because one of the things about this airstream, it's an exotic airstream, it's a velaric or oral airstream, is that you have got the tongue in a KGN position. It's there doing it in parallel. So these are also like double articulations, really. Aga and anga. Anga. So that's voiced and nasalized. Aga, aga, anga. And the other thing that we've put here is you do have to learn a few diacritics. So I've put here the one that relates to labial gestures, which is this little raised superscript W. And you use it to show that a sound has acquired lip rounding. So in a word like sport, the p is often getting ready for the or vowel. Or is quite a strongly rounded vowel. It tends to insist that things are ready and waiting for it. M in more, more, talk, and when you watch each other or watch yourself in the mirror, you'll almost certainly find that you're doing that. So that really is everything you need to know that is labial. And we'll be giving you a page to take home notes, that has a mini version of this on it. So you will have a page to take home at the end of the session. Okay? Which is voiceless, and the place was bilabial, good, voiceless, bilabial, nasal. The end with a little circle under it. And the last one, a bar. What type of sound is a bar? It's a click, that's right, it was a voiced bilabial click. That's right, good, okay. Now then, how do we do? We had 5 sounds there. Have we got a full house for everybody? Is everybody getting 5 out of 5 on voicing? Not quite. Should we do one more set? One more set. First one this time is ah. Okay, so place. The first one was bilabial. Or four. I think I probably did far. The second one was labial palatal. That's the French R sound. Like juin, juillet, labial palatal. Now, I should have told you that on your chart you have got things like that, but they're under the other symbols because they're double articulations, those ones that we saw in the double articulation columns. Occur, these ones, on the IPA chart under that column of other symbols. Because on the IPA chart, every box is a single place of articulation. What I've done here is to create 2 boxes that are 2 places of articulation at the same time. Okay? So you have got those on the chart, but not in quite the same place. We then had a V sound, which is labiodental, or more, bilabial, and agba. What was that? Oh, I've got it up here, haven't I? Yes. Can you give me the full labels that I wanted to say there, anybody? I don't want people to be frustrated. No, it wasn't agba, it was agba. Agba. It's the double articulated one, the voiced, labial velar plosive. Yeah, so the voicing was right, the plosive was right, yes. But it's the labial velar one. Taken far more than we realise visually. So that's a very good lesson to learn the first time we meet, that we must not just listen, but also watch. And please don't worry about staring at me. I expect to be stared at in these classes. Okay. Now, it would be quite nice to be able to be sure about the place of articulation of a consonant in between 2 vowels if there's lots of other stuff around to distract you. So if I said something like watch, what's the place of articulation of the thing between the vowels? Labial velar, that's right, yes, it's a W, good. What about this one? Gehwev. The middle one, yeah. Yes, that's right, it's a voiceless labial velar again, that's right, good. Supposing I said Charit. Which one are we supposed to do? The one in the middle. Yes, exactly, this is the thing, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, yes. So we're going for the one bang in the middle between the 2 vowels again, still the same environment, but I've put in lots of garbage to distract, haven't I? Okay, let's try again. And those were the other places, the ones that we've just done. And then we need to look at manner, because labels always consist of these 3 things: voice, place, and manner. And the manners were the things that ran up and down the side of our chart and run up and down the side of that grid in your IPA chart. What is the manner Well, let's stick with the ones we've just listened to. Let's do the tricky ones. What is the manner of the sound in the middle between the two vowels in that word we had? We watch. Yeah, approximate. We watch is a w sound, isn't it? Which is approximate. It's like a vowel. What about gehweb? Fricative, that's right. Yes, it's the wh, the which, why, where one, which we found in the fricative row. Hoi. Hoi. It's an approximate again, that's right. Yes, and you're quite right. It was labiodental. So
I'm going the wrong way.
we know about the voicing of it, do we, as well? It's voiced, yes, so it's a voiced, labiodental, approximate. We've got the full VPM label. So, yeah, I mean, mistakes are actually quite handy, aren't they? Because we can, like, capitalise on the extra bits of information. So, thank you, Alice. Yes. Midvam. Midvam. That's right. It's got voiced by labial friction in it. Anything else that you can hear? Midvam. It's got a close as well, yes. So what do we call it? Affricate, that's right. So we've got all the information there. Good. A voiced bilabial affricate. And then the last one that we had was papu. It's a plosive, yes, excellent. Voices bilabial plosive. Now, that was the second set of manners, because I think you're too good to spend too much time on that. Was anybody trying to take the words down in their entirety? Is anybody doing that? Because I've got those there if anybody wanted them. They're the ones at the bottom. That's what I was reading. I'll read them to you again. Gi watch. Gi hwez. Hoi. Mi farm. Ah, let's turn it to a, sorry, there's a typo there. It should be a P in the middle, which is far poo. This actually says far voo. So I've made a typing error, which I apologise.
Can I ask you a question? What is the last one?
As it stands here, far voo.
So what is the difference between the sounds in 5, the last sound, and in 2, the middle sound?
This is hwa, and this is ha. Now if you watch, you'll see the difference. Hwa, ha.
So the only difference is in the
Yeah. The difference is that this has friction at both points. This has just got it at the invisible point further back in the mouth.
This is what we have.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Good. Now, I want you to write down the symbol this time for the sound between the vowels. So I'll put the symbols back, just to be kind. By next week, you have to have weaned yourself off these, but we'll have them there today. Number 1 is e-ho. A-o. A-o. A-hwe. A-hwe. A-lo. A-lo. Was that. I put little top and bottom on. This is a sans serif font, but you will find that in the actual IPA chart, it's a serif font and it's got tops and bottoms on it. It doesn't really matter which you do. Then we had the French Y, upside down H, lui. Then we had a click. We had a voiceless click, a voiceless bilabial click, which is quite a fancy symbol to write down. We then had the which noise, the voiceless labial velar fricative, which has got to be all nice and spiky like this. And we finished with Jonathan Ross. Now, I've made that quite curly because it's got to look different from a V. It's also got to look quite different from upsilon, that character that we use for the up vowel in English, put and look. Okay? So you need to make it look sort of faintly italic and squashed. Hochwa. Now you can tell me as quickly as you can what the sound is between the two vowels. Hochwa. Voiceless, labial, velar, fricative. That's right, very good. And so let's get rid of, well, let's not. Hobber. Voiced by labial plosive, that's right, a B by any other name. Good. Then I have got hoa, hoa. Oh, sorry, it's not very helpful, is it, because the bits have gone. Is it in view now? Better. We'll pull the screen down because the screen's longer than the board. Now you can see what you need. Hoa. That's it. Voice, labiodental approximant. That's right. Good. As a team, you're doing brilliantly. What about hopma? Hopma. Voiceless, bilabial, nasal. That's right. Yes, good. And the last one, because these always go, well, actually in the IPA they go in fours, but I've got a fifth one. Hopfa. Hopfa. That's it. Voiceless, bilabial, affricate. So we've got all the bits. Here's the voiceless, bilabial, affricate. There's the plosive. We had one of those, and so on. Good. Okay. Now the other thing you have to do, and you heard this yesterday as well with Nuria, is to read from transcription. And you may read it either between vowels, or you may read it with a vowel after it. You can do it as a group today so that you don't feel really embarrassed. What's that going to sound like? If we let's pick this one, what's that going to sound like? Allah. Yes, very nice. Allah. Do it again once more, all of you. Allah. Yes. And you'll be able to help each other, because as you get to know each other, you'll find that you're sitting next to somebody who's really good at something and you can't do it. Buttonhole them on the stairs afterwards. That's okay. What about this one? How's this going to sound? Pa. That's right. Start with a p and then just blow it apart. Pa. Pa. Yeah. Hang on long enough to get some. Pa. It's coming, isn't it? Yes, yes. There's a temptation to go too wide too soon, so we lose the friction. Yeah. Pa. Oh, here's a nice one. What's that going to sound like? That's right. Yes. Can you all do? Yes, we've got some really good ejectives there. That's nice. Well done. Okay. And this last one here, what's this going to sound like? Very nice. Thank you, Nuria. Yes, and everybody else? That's right. Yes, you've got to actually blow the air so we can hear the friction that's occurring in the nasal cavities. Okay. This time. Yeah. Yours sounded a little bit too much like Allah, Paul. I want That's right. It's sort of, you know, if you were Bugs Bunny and you had big teeth all the time, everything you did would be labiodental, wouldn't it? So they could stick out all the time. There we are. So, okay. What about this one? French. Ayah. That's right. Ayah. Ava. That's right. Ava. Good. And a very nice one to finish with. Yes, very good, very nice. E, 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 A, no, not That's right. Now, could you see the circle getting tighter and tighter and tighter? Yeah. Now, What you'll find very useful is to have a mirror, a little hand mirror or something. I usually have several with me, but I haven't got the box with them in. Very useful to watch yourself doing these things, okay? Let's do it once more, that set. E, 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 yeah, that was much better, wasn't it? Because you knew how far we were going this time and you adjusted accordingly. Now, these have symbols.